The orbital station hung above Nexer Prime like a metal moon. Through the viewing windows, cadets could see the planet below. It was green and brown and covered in thick clouds. It looked peaceful from up here. It was not peaceful at all. Jake Mercer stood at the back of the briefing room with his arms crossed. He was 22 years old, average height, with short brown hair and a calm face that rarely showed worry. He was the only human in the room. Around him stood 47 alien cadets from 12 different species. Most of them looked terrified. Instructor Vethal stood at the front of the room. He was a Kron, which meant he was 8 feet tall with 4 arms and a head like a giant insect. His voice was deep and clicked between words. Nexer Prime is a Class-7 Deathworld, Vethal said. You will be dropped alone onto the surface. You will survive for 7 standard days. Then you will be extracted. This is your final test before graduation. A Volani cadet near Jake made a small sound of fear. Her name was Rin. She had smooth blue skin and large dark eyes. She was Jake's closest friend at the academy. She was also convinced that Jake was about to die. Bethale continued. The planet has extreme temperature changes between day and night. The gravity is 15% higher than station standard. The atmosphere contains sulfur compounds. The rain is mildly acidic. The wildlife is aggressive and hungry. Jake listened to all of this and thought about his childhood in Arizona. His father had taken him camping in the desert every summer. They had hiked through Death Valley when Jake was 14. They had survived a flash flood in Utah when he was 16. His father always said that nature was not evil. Nature was just nature. You had to respect it and adapt to it. Recovery rate for this trial is 62%. Bethale said that the room went very quiet. 62% meant that nearly 4 out of 10 cadets did not come back. Or they came back broken and begging for extraction before the 7 days ended. Rin leaned close to Jake. I am scared for you, she whispered. Humans have never done this trial. Your species is so new to the Alliance. You are so fragile. Jake almost laughed but held it back. He had heard this many times since joining the academy. Humans were new. Humans were soft. Humans came from a nice, safe planet. Humans would not last long in the real galaxy, that none of these aliens had ever been to Earth. I will be fine, Jake said. Rin did not look convinced. The creatures down there can smell blood from miles away. The plants will try to eat you. The temperature drops to freezing at night and rises to burning during the day. Sounds like camping, Jake said. Rin did not understand what camping meant. Jake did not try to explain. Vethal finished the briefing and told everyone to report to the drop pod bay in 1 hour. The cadets filed out of the room slowly. Many of them were saying goodbye to each other. Some were crying. An Ursan cadet named Tarek walked past Jake and looked down at him. Ursans were massive creatures that looked like bears. They came from a heavy-gravity world and thought they were the toughest species in the Alliance. Good luck, human, Tarek said. It did not sound friendly. It sounded like he was saying goodbye to a dead man. Thanks, Jake said. You too. Tarek grunted and walked away. Jake went to his quarters and packed his survival kit. The Alliance provided standard equipment for all cadets. A protective suit, a water filter, a fire starter, a knife, a small medical kit, emergency beacon for extraction if things went very bad. Jake checked each item carefully. He added a small notebook and a pencil from his personal supplies. His father had always said to keep notes when surviving. You learned faster that way. 1 hour later, Jake stood in front of his drop pod. It was a metal egg just big enough for one person. It would fall through the atmosphere and land somewhere on Nexer Prime. Where exactly was random. That was part of the test. Rin found him before he climbed in. Her blue skin was pale with worry. Jake, she said, I want you to know that I will miss you. You have been a good friend. I am not dead yet, Jake said. The jungle swamp zone has the highest death rate, Rin said. If you land there, please just call for extraction. There is no shame in it. Jake smiled at her. It was a real smile, not forced. I will see you in 7 days. Save me some of that blue fruit you like. We will celebrate. Rin opened her mouth to argue, but could not find words. Jake climbed into his pod, and the door sealed shut. Through the small window, he watched Rin standing there with her hands pressed together in the Villani gesture of mourning. The pod launched. Jake felt the shaking as the pod fell through the atmosphere. It got hot inside, then cold, then hot again. Warning lights flashed, but Jake ignored them. This was normal. The pod was doing its job. After 20 minutes, the pod hit ground. Hard. Jake was thrown against his straps, but the padding held. He waited for the systems to confirm that the air outside was breathable. The screen showed high sulfur content, elevated temperature, and dangerous wildlife detected nearby. Jake put on his suit, grabbed his kit, and opened the door. The smell hit him first. Sulfur and rotting plants and something animal underneath it all. The air was thick and warm. Around him was a jungle that glowed with strange colors. The trees were twisted and tall. The ground was soft and wet. Something screamed in the distance. Something else screamed back. Jake stepped out of the pod and stretched his arms above his head. His back popped. The gravity was a little stronger here, but nothing terrible. The heat was like summer in Texas. The smell was bad, but he would get used to it. He looked around at the alien jungle. The glowing plants. The distant sounds of creatures that wanted to eat him. The acidic mist rising from a nearby swamp. Not bad, Jake said to no one. He pulled out his knife and started cutting branches for a shelter. He had 7 days to survive. He planned to enjoy them. Far above, on the orbital station, Instructor Vethelon watched Jake's vital signs on a monitor. Heart rate normal. Stress hormones low. Brain activity calm. Vethel clicked his mandibles in confusion. The human was not afraid. The human was not even nervous. Interesting, Vethel said quietly. He made a note in his file and kept watching. Jake woke up on his first morning to the sound of something trying to eat his shelter. He lay still and listened. The creature outside was big. He could hear it breathing. It was scratching at the walls he had built from branches and leaves. He waited. After a few minutes, the creature lost interest and walked away. Its footsteps shook the ground slightly. Jake smiled and got up. The shelter had held. He had built it the old way, the way his father taught him. Thick walls. Small entrance. Nothing that smelled like food inside. The creature had found nothing interesting and moved on. Jake crawled outside and looked around. The jungle was bright now. The twin suns of this system were both up, and the light came through the trees in strange patterns. Everything glowed. The air was still thick with sulfur, but Jake was already getting used to it. His nose had stopped complaining. First thing was water. Jake had studied the planet data before the drop. There were freshwater springs in this region, fed by underground rivers. The water was clean if you knew where to find it. He checked his filter anyway. No point taking risks. He spent the morning exploring. The jungle was dense but not impossible. The ground was soft in some places, hard in others. He learned quickly where to step and where to avoid. Some of the plants reached for him when he passed. He cut them back with his knife and kept walking. Around midday, Jake found something interesting. A bush covered in small red fruits. They looked a little like berries from Earth. His suit scanner said they were not toxic to humans. He picked one and smelled it. Sweet. A little sour underneath. He took a small bite and waited. His father had taught him this too. Always test new food slowly. Wait an hour. Wait an hour. See how your body reacts. Nothing bad happened. Jake ate a few more berries and marked the bush location in his notebook. Food source confirmed. The afternoon brought his first real challenge. Jake was walking along a ridge when he heard something behind him. Heavy footsteps. Fast breathing. He turned and saw the creature. It was massive. 6 legs, each one thick as a tree trunk. A head with 4 eyes and a mouth full of teeth. It was already running toward him. Jake did not panic. He watched the creature come. It was fast, but it was running in a straight line. It expected him to freeze or run. That was what prey did on this planet. Freeze or run. Jake did neither. He waited until the creature was close, then stepped sideways. The creature tried to turn, but it was moving too fast. It crashed into a tree behind Jake and fell down. Confused. Jake was already moving. He climbed up the ridge and found a spot between 2 rocks. The creature could not fit through here. It roared at him from below, frustrated. Then it gave up and walked away to find easier food. Jake sat down and caught his breath. His heart was beating fast now, but not from fear. From excitement. He had just faced an alien predator and won. Not by fighting, by thinking. These creatures had never met prey that thought. They had never faced something that watched them come and chose the right moment to move. They relied on fear. When fear did not work, they did not know what to do. Jake made a note in his notebook. Predators here are not smart. They are strong but predictable. Use their speed against them. That evening, Jake found the freshwater spring. It was beautiful. Clear water bubbling up from underground, surrounded by soft moss and glowing plants. He tested the water with his filter. Clean. Safe. He looked at the water for a long moment. His suit was hot. The day had been long. The water looked perfect. His suit's computer warned him not to remove any protective gear. Jake ignored it. He had been checking the radiation levels all day. They were high for most species, but well within human tolerance. Earth's sun was harsh too. Human skin had evolved to handle it. Jake took off the top half of his suit and stepped into the water. It was cool and clean and wonderful. He floated on his back and looked up at the alien sky through the trees. 2 suns setting in different directions. Colors he had no names for. Not bad at all, he said. He swam for a while, then got out and dried off. He would need to build a better shelter near the spring. This was a good spot. On his way back to camp, Jake felt something watching him. He kept walking but stayed alert. The feeling did not go away. Something was following him. He caught glimpses of it through the trees. 6 legs, like the big creature from earlier, but much smaller. About the size of a large dog. It had scales instead of fur and a long tail. Its eyes were golden and very focused on Jake. Jake stopped walking. He turned and looked directly at the creature. It froze. They stared at each other. This was an apex predator of this region. Jake could tell by the way it moved, the way it watched him. It was not used to being seen. It was used to being the hunter, not the hunted. Jake sat down on a fallen log. The creature tilted its head in confusion. Jake reached into his bag and pulled out a piece of meat from the big creature that had attacked him earlier. He had killed it after their second encounter, when it tried to ambush him near the spring. The meat was cooked over his fire last night. He tossed a small piece toward the smaller creature. The creature looked at the meat, then at Jake, then at the meat again. It had never been offered food before. Nothing had ever given it anything. Everything on this planet was either predator or prey. Jake waited. He did not move. He did not speak. He just sat there, patient and calm. After a long time, the creature crept forward. It sniffed the meat. Then it ate it. Jake threw another piece, a little closer this time. The creature ate that by the time the suns were fully down. The creature was sitting 5 feet away from Jake, watching him with those golden eyes. It was still wary, still ready to run or fight. But it was also curious. Jake smiled. "I think I will call you Biscuit," he said. Biscuit tilted its head at the strange sounds. Then it lay down and kept watching. Far above, on the orbital station, 2 cadets had already requested emergency extraction. 3 more were showing dangerous stress levels. Instructor Vethelez looked at Jake's data and felt something he did not understand. The human stress hormones were lower than yesterday. His heart rate was calm. His activity patterns suggested he was relaxed. Happy even. "The equipment must be broken," another instructor said. Vethel was not so sure. By day 4, Biscuit would not leave Jake alone. The creature followed him everywhere. When Jake walked, Biscuit walked beside him. When Jake stopped to rest, Biscuit sat nearby and watched for danger. When Jake slept, Biscuit curled up just outside the shelter entrance like a guard. Jake had moved his camp to the freshwater spring. He built a better shelter there, using everything he had learned in the first few days. Thick walls. Good drainage for when the acidic rain came. A fire pit with stones around it to keep the flames contained. Biscuit watched him build with obvious interest. Sometimes the creature would poke at things Jake was working on. Once it tried to help by dragging a branch over. The branch was too big and not the right shape, but Jake thanked Biscuit anyway and used it for firewood. On the morning of day 4, Jake made a collar for Biscuit. It was simple, just woven plant fibers braided together. It would not hold Biscuit if the creature wanted to leave. That was not the point. The collar was a symbol, a mark of connection. Jake knelt down and held out the collar. Biscuit sniffed it carefully. Then the creature lowered its head and let Jake put the collar on. "Good boy," Jake said. "Or girl. I have no idea which you are. But good either way." Biscuit made a rumbling sound deep in its chest. Jake decided that meant it was happy. They spent the day exploring together. Jake wanted to map more of the area around his camp. He needed to know where the dangers were, where the food was, where he could go safely, and where he should avoid. Biscuit was helpful. The creature knew this jungle far better than Jake did. It would stop sometimes and stare in a certain direction. Jake learned that this meant something dangerous was that way. He would make a note, and they would go around. In the afternoon, they found a clearing filled with Biscuit's kind. A whole pack of them, maybe 15 or 20. They were bigger than Biscuit, most of them. Adults, Jake guessed. Biscuit was probably young, still growing. The pack saw them and went still. 20 pairs of golden eyes stared at Jake. He could feel the danger in the air. These were apex predators. They did not know what to make of this strange 2-legged creature, walking with one of their own. Biscuit stepped forward and stood between Jake and the pack. The creature made sounds Jake had not heard before, hissing and clicking and something like a growl. It was talking to them, Jake realized, telling them something. The pack leader, a massive beast with scars across its face, stepped forward. It and Biscuit stared at each other for a long moment. Then the pack leader made a sound and turned away. The pack followed, disappearing into the jungle. Jake let out a breath he did not know he was holding. "Thanks," he said to Biscuit. Biscuit turned back to him and made that rumbling sound again. Happy, proud. Maybe Jake understood what had happened. Biscuit had claimed him. In the language of these creatures, Jake was now part of Biscuit's pack. And since Biscuit had chosen him, the other creatures would not attack. Not unless Jake threatened them first. He scratched behind what he thought were Biscuit's ears. The creature leaned into his hand and made a sound like purring. For a deadly apex predator, Biscuit was very affectionate. Day 5. brought the acidic rain. Jake had been watching the clouds gather since morning. He knew this was coming. He had prepared his shelter for it. But he was worried about Biscuit. The creature had never needed shelter before. Its scales protected it from most things, but the acidic rain was different. Jake had seen what it did to the plants. It could hurt even a tough predator if the exposure was long enough. When the rain started, Jake called Biscuit into the shelter. The creature hesitated. It had never been inside a human structure before. The space was small and strange. "Come on," Jake said. "It is safe in here. I promise." Biscuit looked at the rain, then at Jake, then at the shelter. Finally, it crept inside and lay down next to Jake. The shelter was crowded now, but it was warm and dry. Outside. The rain hissed as it hit the ground. The plants curled up to protect themselves. Everything that could hide was hiding. Jake and Biscuit sat together and waited. Jake talked to pass the time. He told Biscuit about Earth, about Arizona and the deserts there, about his father and their camping trips. Biscuit did not understand the words, but seemed to like the sound of Jake's voice. When the rain stopped, Jake checked on Biscuit. Not a single mark on those golden scales. The shelter had worked perfectly. Biscuit pressed its head against Jake's chest. The bond was complete now. Jake had protected it. In Biscuit's mind, Jake was pack. Jake was family. Day 6 was peaceful. Jake found a rocky area with good sun exposure and decided to take a break. He had been working hard for almost a week. He deserved some rest. He took off the top of his suit and lay on the warm rocks. The twin suns felt good on his skin. He could feel himself getting darker, his body responding to the radiation the way human bodies had for thousands of years. A tan. He was getting a tan on an alien Deathworld. Biscuit hunted nearby, bringing back small creatures and eating them messily. Jake watched with amusement. Even deadly predators looked a little silly when they were eating in the afternoon. Jake found something that made him stop. Wreckage. An old drop pod, half buried in the ground. Vines had grown over it. The metal was rusted. He checked inside and found bones. Big bones. An Urson, probably, based on the size. A cadet from a previous cycle who had not made it. Jake stood quietly for a moment. He did not take anything from the wreckage. That would not be right. He just looked at it and thought about how different things could have gone. How easily survival could turn to failure. "I am sorry," he said to no one. "I hope you did not suffer." Then he marked the location in his notebook and walked away. Biscuit followed, sensing his mood but not understanding it. That night, Jake sat by his fire and watched the alien sunset. The sky turned colors he still had no names for. Biscuit was curled at his feet, warm and heavy and alive. One more day. Then extraction. Then back to the station and normal food and his comfortable bed. He should be happy about that. He was happy about that. But he was also a little sad. "I was just getting comfortable," Jake said to Biscuit. Biscuit opened one golden eye, looked at him, and went back to sleep. On the orbital station, Instructor Vethelo stared at his screens. Jake's stress levels were the lowest they had been all week. His vital signs were perfect. His activity patterns showed someone who was relaxed and content. His hormones suggest he is happier now than when he was on the station, another instructor said. That cannot be right. Vethel did not answer. He was starting to think it was exactly right. He was starting to think they had all made a terrible mistake about humans. Day 7 began with Jake taking apart his camp. He did it carefully, the same way he had built it. He scattered the branches he had used for walls. He buried the ashes from his fire pit. He left the clearing looking almost the same as when he had found it. His father had taught him that too. Take only memories. Leave only footprints. Biscuit watched all of this with confusion. The creature did not understand why Jake was destroying the den he had worked so hard to build. It kept trying to drag branches back into place. "We are leaving," Jake explained. "I have to go back." Up there, he pointed at the sky. Biscuit looked up and saw nothing but clouds. It did not understand. Jake knelt down and put his hands on either side of Biscuit's face. Those golden eyes stared into his. "You could stay here," Jake said. "This is your home. Your kind is here. You would be fine without me." Biscuit made a sound. A low, unhappy sound that Jake had not heard before. "Or you could come with me," Jake said. "I do not know if they will let me keep you. I do not know if you will be happy up there. But I am not going to abandon you. Not after everything." Biscuit pressed its head against Jake's chest. The decision was made. Jake checked his extraction coordinates. The pickup point was several miles east, in a flat area where the shuttle could land safely. He had plenty of time to get there, but he wanted to start early. No point in being late. They walked together through the jungle. Jake had learned this place well over the past week. He knew which paths were safe and which ones to avoid. He knew where the big predators hunted and when they were most active. He moved through the jungle like he belonged there, because he did belong there, in a way. Humans were adaptable. They could belong anywhere if they tried hard enough. That was what made them different from most other species. They did not just survive. They made themselves at home. About halfway to the extraction point, Jake heard something that made him stop. Heavy footsteps. Very heavy. The ground was shaking slightly. Biscuit went stiff beside him. The creature's scales flattened against its body. Its tail curled tight. Every muscle was tense and ready to run. Jake had never seen Biscuit scared before. The creature emerged from the trees ahead of them. It was massive, much bigger than anything Jake had seen on this planet. It stood on 8 legs, each one thick as a tree. Its body was covered in dark armor plates. Its head had 6 eyes and a mouth that could swallow Jake whole. This was the apex of the apex predators, the thing that even Biscuit's kind feared. The reason nothing else hunted in this part of the jungle. It saw Jake and Biscuit. It stopped. It considered them. Jake's mind raced through options. He could not fight this thing. He could not outrun it. He could not hide from it. The creature was too big, too fast, too aware. But Jake noticed something. The creature had stopped. It was watching them. It was not attacking. On this planet, everything either ran or froze when faced with a predator. That was the rule. Prey ran or froze. Predators chased. It was simple. Jake was not running. He was not freezing. He was standing there, looking back at the massive creature with calm eyes. The creature did not know what to do with that. Jake made a decision. He stood up as tall as he could. He spread his arms wide to make himself look bigger. And then he did something that his father had taught him to do when facing a mountain lion back on Earth. He roared. It was not a real roar, just a human shouting as loud as he could. But in the quiet of the jungle, it was very loud. It echoed off the trees. It startled birds into flight. The massive creature took a step back. Just one step, but it was a step back. Biscuit understood. The small predator stepped up beside Jake and added its voice, hissing and snarling and making every aggressive sound it knew. 2 small creatures facing one giant, refusing to be afraid. The apex predator looked at them for a long moment. Then it made a sound, low and rumbling, and turned away. It walked back into the trees and disappeared. Jake let out his breath. His hands were shaking a little. Okay, so he had been scared. But being scared and being controlled by fear were different things. Biscuit was looking at him with something like admiration. Jake had faced the monster, and the monster had backed down. "Let's keep moving," Jake said. They reached the extraction point with time to spare. It was a flat area of rock, clear of trees, perfect for a shuttle landing. Jake sat down on a boulder and waited. Biscuit sat beside him, leaning against his leg. The shuttle appeared in the sky exactly on schedule. It came down slowly, carefully, landing on the rock with a gentle thump. The door opened and a Volani pilot stepped out. His name was Coordinator Sess. He was carrying a medical kit and a body bag. He had expected to find a corpse, or at best a broken and traumatized survivor begging for help. He found Jake sitting comfortably with a tan and a pet. Deathworld Predator.SES stopped walking. He stared at Jake, then at Biscuit, then back at Jake. "Hello," Jake said cheerfully. "Thanks for the ride. Is there room for two?" Sess opened his mouth, but no words came out. He looked at his tablet, then at Jake, then at Biscuit again. "That is a Class-7 Apex Predator," Sess finally managed. "His name is Biscuit," Jake said. "He is friendly, mostly." Biscuit looked at Sess and made a curious sound. Sess took a step back. "I do not think animals are allowed on the shuttle," Sess said weakly. "He is not an animal," Jake said. "He is my friend, and I am not leaving him behind." Sess looked at Jake's face. There was no anger there, no threat, just calm certainty. This human was not asking permission. He was stating a fact. "Fine," Sess said. "But if it eats me, I am filing a complaint." "Fair enough," Jake said. They boarded the shuttle together. Jake took a seat, and Biscuit curled up at his feet like a dog. Sess kept glancing back at them during the flight. His expression caught somewhere between confusion and disbelief. The shuttle docked at the orbital station. The door opened. Every surviving cadet and most of the instructors had gathered in the landing bay. They had been watching Jake's data for a week. They had seen his stress levels stay low while others panicked. They had seen him thrive while others called for extraction. They needed to see him with their own eyes. Jake walked out of the shuttle. He was tanned and relaxed. His suit was dirty but intact. He looked like he had just come back from vacation. Behind him, Biscuit padded out on 6 legs, golden eyes scanning the crowd of aliens. Its collar of woven plant fibers was still around its neck. Complete silence. Rin pushed through the crowd. Her blue face was filled with emotions Jake could not name. She stopped in front of him and stared. "You are alive," she said. "I told you I would be." Jake said, "You are tanned. The suns there were nice. You brought a pet." Jake looked down at Biscuit, who was pressing against his leg nervously. Too many new smells, too many strange creatures. But Biscuit was staying close to Jake because Jake was safe. Jake was pack. "I made a friend," Jake said. "It would have been rude to leave him behind." Rin looked at Biscuit. Biscuit looked at Rin. Neither of them moved. What was it like down there? Rin asked. Jake thought about it. The jungle and the creatures and the acidic rain. The long nights by the fire. The feeling of belonging in a place that should have killed him. "It was a nice vacation," he said. "But I could have used another week." Rin did not know what to say to that. Nobody did. Jake walked through the silent crowd with Biscuit at his side, heading for his quarters and a hot shower. Behind him, the entire Galactic Alliance Military Academy tried to understand what they had just witnessed. They would be trying to understand for a very long time. The debriefing lasted 6 hours. Jake sat in a small room across from Instructor Vethal and 3 other senior officers. They had tablets and recording devices and very serious expressions. Biscuit was curled up in the corner, watching everything with golden eyes. "Start from the beginning," Vethal said. "We need to understand everything." So Jake told them. He explained how he had built his shelter, how he had found water and food, how he had learned the patterns of the predators and used their behavior against them. The officers took notes. They asked questions. Many questions. The temperature changes did not affect you? One officer asked. It got cold at night, Jake said. But I grew up in a desert. I am used to temperature swings. The gravity did not slow you down? It was a little heavier than Earth, Jake said. But not by much. I adjusted after a day or two. The acidic rain? My suit handled it fine. And I built good shelter. The radiation from the twin suns? Jake held up his arm. His skin was noticeably darker than when he had left. Humans tan, he said. Our skin protects us from solar radiation. It is how we evolved. The officers looked at each other. They had not known this about humans. Bethel leaned forward. Tell us about the creature. Jake looked at Biscuit. The predator lifted its head at the attention. His name is Biscuit. He started following me on day 2. I shared food with him. He decided I was pack. You shared food with an apex predator. Yes, and it did not attack you. No, he was curious. He had never met anything that offered him food instead of running away. I think it confused him at first. But he learned that I was not a threat. Then he learned that I was useful. Then he learned that I was family. Bethel made a clicking sound. This is remarkable behavior. We have never seen anything like it. Humans do this, Jake said. We have been doing it for thousands of years. We took wolves and turned them into dogs. We took wildcats and made them pets. We took horses and rode them across continents. We find dangerous creatures and make friends with them. It is what we do. The room was very quiet. How? Another officer asked. How do you make a predator into a friend? Jake thought about it. Patience, he said. Respect. Food helps too. You show them that you are not a threat. You show them that being near you has benefits. You treat them well, and eventually they start to trust you. It takes time, but it works. The officers wrote everything down. Jake could see that they were struggling to understand. These were concepts that did not exist in their training manuals. Befriending apex predators was not a survival strategy they had ever considered. We would like to add your experience to our curriculum, Bethel said. Your methods are unlike anything in our records. They could help future cadets. Sure, Jake said. Happy to help. The debriefing ended. Jake was free to go. He walked out of the room with Biscuit at his heels in the hallway. He found Tarek waiting for him. The big Urson looked different than before. Less arrogant. More thoughtful. Human, Tarek said. I owe you an apology. Jake stopped. For what? I expected you to die. I thought your species was weak. I thought you would not survive a single day on that planet. Tarek shook his massive head. I was wrong. You were not the only one, Jake said. Most people here thought the same thing. Still, I should not have judged you before seeing what you could do. Tarek held out one huge paw. I would like to start again. My name is Tarek. I am an Urson cadet, and I would be honored to learn from you. Jake shook the offered paw. Jake Mercer, human, and I would be happy to share what I know. Tarek looked down at Biscuit. The predator looked back up at him. Is it safe to touch? Ask him nicely, Jake said. Tarek slowly lowered his paw toward Biscuit's head. Biscuit sniffed it, considered it, and then pressed against it for scratches. Tarek made a sound of surprise. It is warm, Tarek said. I did not expect that. Biscuit likes warmth, Jake said. And he likes attention. He's really just a big puppy. I do not know what a puppy is. It is a young dog. Dogs are Earth predators that humans made into friends a long time ago. They are very loyal, and they like belly rubs. Tarek looked confused but interested. I would like to learn more about Earth, he said, and about humans. Buy me dinner sometime and I will tell you all about it, Jake said. That evening, Rin came to visit Jake in his quarters. She sat in a chair near the door, keeping a safe distance from Biscuit. The predator was sprawled across Jake's bed, taking up most of the space. "How are you feeling?" Rin asked. "Good," Jake said. "Tired, but good. It is nice to be back. Everyone is talking about you. The human who survived Nexer Prime. The human who came back with a tan and a pet." Rin smiled a little. "You are famous now." "I did not do anything special," Jake said. "I just did what I was trained to do. What my father trained me to do." Rin was quiet for a moment. Then she asked the question she had been thinking about all week. "Were you ever scared down there?" Jake considered the question seriously. "Yes," he said. "There were moments when I was scared. The big creature at the end, the one that nearly blocked my path to extraction. That scared me. Some of the nights were scary too, when I could hear things moving outside my shelter. But you did not panic. No, panic does not help. It just makes things worse." Jake shrugged. "Earth taught us that. My planet is dangerous, Rin. More dangerous than most people in the Alliance realize. We have predators that hunt in packs. We have storms that can destroy cities. We have deserts where you can die of thirst in hours, and mountains where you can freeze in minutes. We have diseases that killed millions of us before we learned to fight them." Rin stared at him. "I did not know. Most aliens do not. They see humans, and they think we look soft. No claws, no scales, no venom. They think we must come from some safe, gentle world." Jake smiled. "We do not. Earth is a Class-7 Deathworld, at minimum. Maybe higher. We just do not call it that because to us, it is normal. It is home. You evolved on a Deathworld," Rin said slowly. "Yes, and that is why Nexer Prime did not kill me. Because I have been preparing for places like that my entire life. Every human has. We carry thousands of years of survival instinct in our blood. We are not fragile, Rin. We are just polite about it." Rin was quiet for a long time after that. The next day, Jake received a notification. The Alliance had updated his official file. He opened it and read the new entry. Cadet Jake Mercer. Species: Human. Homeworld: Earth, Sol 3. Special notation: completed Class-7 survival trial with 0 stress incidents. Successfully domesticated native apex predator during trial period. Recommended for advanced wilderness training. Additional note: do not underestimate human cadets. Their homeworld is a confirmed high lethality environment. They are not fragile. They are simply polite about their capabilities. Jake laughed out loud. Biscuit lifted his head at the sound. "Hear that, buddy?" Jake said. "We are officially not fragile." Biscuit made a rumbling sound and put his head back down. That night, Jake lay in his bed with Biscuit sprawled across his chest. The weight was comfortable, warm, safe. Through his window, he could see the stars stretching out forever. He thought about Nexer Prime, about the jungle and the creatures and the sunsets with colors he still could not name. He thought about his father and all those camping trips that had prepared him for this without either of them knowing it. Humans were new to the galaxy. They were still learning their place among the stars. But Jake knew one thing for certain now. They were going to do just fine. Biscuit snored softly. Jake closed his eyes and smiled. Outside, the galaxy turned slowly onward, full of dangers and wonders and worlds waiting to be explored. And somewhere in all that vastness, the word was starting to spread. Humans were not prey. Humans were not fragile. Humans were something the galaxy had never seen before, and they were just getting started.